Wow. So today is January 9th. Wow. We're already past the first week of the new year, 2022. Um, One of the reasons I'm doing this today is there's people who get upset with some of the things I say and whatever. But I've always been an advocate. I've never known a time in my life I haven't been an advocate. I've also had another one of the things that bothers people a lot. I've been a researcher. And when I say I've been a researcher, I worked on genealogy for close to 60 years. Actually, yeah, I was 13, yeah. So I tend to be one that looks up facts. Um, I was raised by free thinkers, as my mother used to say. My great-grandfather came from Massachusetts, and his father had been a prisoner of war in the Civil War. And he taught us that everybody has an opinion, everybody. But just because they have an opinion doesn't mean that the opinion you have is wrong or right. It's just an opinion. That's exactly what it is. It's based on the knowledge that you have at the time. And the thing I've noticed, and this is something that I've really become more aware of lately, is that so many people who have opinions based on information that's incorrect. And by the way, this is not political information. This is just information. I mean, it's, information that gets out there. And one of the things that seems to be the hardest is the fact that so many people are ignorant as to just how slanted information has become because they're relying on their information from the media. They're relying from the internet. They're relying from it, from television and from even the print. There's not much print left of it all. But what they're not getting is a couple of unbiased type of issues that they can go back and forth. Randolph Hearst had newspapers many years ago, and he tried to control the world with his newspapers. And he had a lot of people that believed everything he said, and he wasn't correct. I mean, he had a lot of falseness. So we're all talking about fake news. We're all talking about who's to blame for what. We're all talking about how, the past president did what he did or did what he didn't do what he should have been doing, and how now they're blaming the new president for not coming through with his promises. Well, let me tell you something about that. First of all, I think that the new president is attempting to deal with something that has never happened in the world before. Maybe the bubonic plague. Yeah, but that's thousands, hundreds of years ago. It's more the fact that, like, just in the past week, there's been 2 new variants found in this curse that we're dealing with all the time. And everybody is trying to pedal as fast as they can to find a solution. And, like, this newest one, they're saying now that Delta and Omicron are joining. The last thing was the flu and, Omicron. So everybody wants these answers, but what they don't understand is, and this is the ignorance that I'm talking about, that science, I mean, I'm going to be honest, I'm ignorant about a lot in science. I am not a scientist. I am an advocate. I'm a historian. I'm an artist, and I'm a very free thinker in the respect that I am willing to admit that some of the research that I've done in just the last week alone, has proven to be changed already. And that one of the biggest issues that a lot of the people seem so angry about is, oh, well, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. Well, I think in science and in medicine especially, because human beings are host to a lot of viruses and bacterias, and I mean, let's face it, aren't we lucky? The viruses and bacterias are not living beings or entities or whatever you want to call them, but we are, and animals are. And, now there's conspiracy theories that, this new variant is because, it's a secret weapon that, people are putting in mice and they're letting them loose. You see, I have trouble with conspiracy theories. I tend to be one that looks at research and then looks at the other side of the research. And I kind of think the conspiracy theories are really creating a lot of stupid decisions. And when I say stupid decisions, I think the decisions that are being made by just the everyday person, they really can't make even a stupid decision because they're relying on the experts to make the decisions for us. And then they get upset because the experts make decisions. And then the decisions get changed. And then the decisions get changed. I think, in my personal view, that a lot of the decisions that have been made are under the pressure of political correctness and political, power and everything. If there was a way to take the politics out of all of this and just treat the issues, and, a lot of people are all bent out of shape about wearing a mask. I got news for you. When my body was removed from a fire, I've had to use a mask since 1978. Anytime there's an epidemic, like a flu epidemic, when SARS was around, I have to wear a thermal mask if it gets below 30 degrees and I go outside. So the mask issue, I mean, skiers wear masks, bobsledders wear a mask. It's not that. It is, we have tied it into so many other things. We've tied it into a lot of untruths, which are becoming so damaging that we're losing, thousands of people a day. I mean, we're up well over 800,000 people that have died in our country alone. And by the way, that's just the ones that are counting for, what the current virus, the one before. That's not counting people like my husband who was killed in June from an auto accident, or friends who have died of cancer that died this year or last year. We're not even talking about those deaths. Those numbers that they're putting out there for us all to see. They're not including heart attacks. They're not including, hospice care and whatever. They're including it based on the multiple different variants that are out there. So I think common sense is the thing that we're struggling with. We're struggling with, would you, if it was your family member, would you do everything you could to protect them? And if you say yes, then what is it that can protect them? They're finding out our immune systems, even when we have vaccines and boosters. Those of us that are compromised, like me, because of the damage to my lungs from the fire. I mean, I just went through Delta in November, and I had 19 back a year ago. So I'm cooped up. I'm locked up. I haven't been out of the house except for the doctor back in December 10th. So when people try to help me, and I can't really have many, I mean, I've had two that have been able to come over, but even they have not been able to come over lately because of the new variant. And now there's two new variants, on top of that, So, I mean, I'm basically a prisoner. So, my knowledge and my experience is also coming from the internet, from the news on TV, any printed information I can get, and any research that I can do. And I'm going to be honest with you, there's a lot that's changed in what I've learned since we started this 2 years ago. I mean, I have been guilty of being, you either do this or you don't. And I admit that. I mean, I admit that I couldn't allow anybody near me if you hadn't been vaccinated. And unfortunately for me, I did have somebody come over who ended up being a carrier, and I ended up getting Delta. Do I blame the person? No, I don't. The person is giving me a chance to live my own life, and it's a person I love dearly. But it made me change what I was thinking, because the more I researched why this person couldn't do it, and learned that they had developed a condition after having a flu shot, the more I realized how many people have not bothered to sit down and talk with other people. They just yell at each other, or they just shut them out of their lives. And I know I'm guilty of that. I'm fully responsible for those kind of ideas and things. Do I regret them? Yeah, actually I do. I do regret some of them. Some of them not so much, because there was also very strong political negativity attached to it. And I found that, with having just had another stroke, and with having, widow brain and COVID brain and all of this other stuff, I can only handle so many things. But today I was watching something on the Sunday news, and they were talking about, people are complaining because there's not enough jobs and not enough employees and that. But like they showed, in 2006, we had like 1 million immigrants. But now we only have like 230,000 immigrants coming in. And the immigrants are the one that took the low-paying jobs for us, so that, we got fruit and vegetables on our table. They did housekeeping and cleaning and that. And I'm afraid I've witnessed this from many people. Many of the white Americans feel that those jobs are beneath them. I had a brother once that told me that he was too good to pump gas. And my mother said to him, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm too good to pump gas. I'll leave that to somebody else." And she said, "Oh, well, your father pumped gas and supported 6 children. Was it beneath him? He'd been in 2 wars." And it really was a wake-up call, because my brother was only 4 years younger than me, so he was born in the 50s. I am seeing now that a lot of the so-called, what do they call the resignation, quitting their jobs, they don't have any jobs, but then they want unemployment. But they don't want anything they don't want the government involved in their lives, but they want unemployment. So this is part of the ignorance that we're experiencing, where you want one thing, but you're not willing to look into what are the results of that. And are you willing to live with the results? And like so many people say, well, we don't want any government help. We don't want any of this, that. I go, okay. So if you're without a job and without an income, how do you support yourself? Because we have unemployment. There's welfare. If you're going to accept that, then you're not telling the truth. This is part of what I'm struggling with, is the lack of truth. I really think that so many really good people have been given some really incorrect information. And I hope that they're going to be able to get the correct information. This is Sunday. It's like, oh my God, we've got already over a week of this brand new year done. And it's out of control. And I'm hoping that people start to see that they're part of the solution. They're not part of the problem. And maybe that's what the problem has been all along, is nobody has thought of themselves as part of the solution. And there's some kick-ass, wonderful people out in this world. And I think that, I really think everybody can be part of the solution. I don't really think you have to be a problem to still express yourself and to convey what you're thinking and where you're getting your thoughts from. But that's me, and that's my thought today. Thank you. Bye-bye.